Good morning. Welcome to
Oh, hold on.
Tinkerclub. Oh,
You
yep.
gotta switch to share the screen or unshare the screen.
Oh, ignore. Hold on. Right. Stop presenting. You're right. All right. You know what it is? I'm so used to having my two monitors, and now that I'm traveling, I only have the one. So, all right. So cut a good blooper take. All right. Welcome to Tinker Club, where we believe that everyone is a builder and we like to build in public. So here I am, Leigh-Anne Nugent, joined again with Micah Adler.
Hello.
Okay, we had a very interesting week, and we wanted to talk about a couple of things. One was a really interesting post that we saw on LinkedIn that got us thinking about so many things. Like it was such a jam-packed article, so we wanted to spend some time talking about it and our take on it. And I guess I'm going to just share. I am joining from sunny Orlando today because I am going to the TSIA Interact conference. So I think I'll just talk a little bit about why I decided to go there or come here, besides getting some sun, because it's been a long time since I've had some sun. But yeah, so that's it. Micah, what's on your agenda today?
Yeah, here as well. I'm in sunny Toronto, which is a little bit less cold than it was last week, I suppose. And yeah, I got to, take a nice bike ride yesterday. It was sunny and warm, 17 degrees. Today's 19
Oh,
degrees. So
that's
that's
nice. Okay, so I didn't I left behind some sun to go to something. I didn't need to escape, I guess.
for sure, for sure.
All right, so what do you plan to share on your agenda today?
So yeah, I'm gonna go through. I've been working with Google Standard
Oh, cool.
Workspace, and then Gemini. So there's some pretty neat things that Google is doing, and because I have Workspace Standard, I have access to all of that, and I've been playing around with it. So I think it will be useful.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. And because last week you discovered that I could have had access to Google Vids, which I had no idea about. So now that's part of my like build versus buy kind of thought pattern. Do I already have it? So it's not even a build versus buy. It's a there's got to be a third bucket where it's like, well, do you already have something? Like explore your existing toolkit to see if something exists already. So thank you for digging into that.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and I do want to, okay, there you go. Can you see my
Yep.
LinkedIn? Okay. Shout out to Brooke Richie-Babbage, new person to follow on LinkedIn. This article that she wrote on April 18 was so incredible. I just, yeah, like so many good comments and good tidbits that we had, that we got out of this. And that what we're seeing here is that there's like, it's not a lack of capability building support. It's just that there's the environment that nonprofits are in do not create conditions to build resilience. And so it just got me thinking it's not just in nonprofits. We're seeing this across the board with organizations where we're starting to see that, um, because there's just so much noise out there in, I guess, what's going on with technology and all of the ideas and doing more with less. Like, how do we actually build momentum and traction in such a noisy environment? This is just really thought provoking to think about it from a capacity building perspective for your teams. So just wanted to scroll through some of these comments here. And so Micah, just chime in when something popped up for you. Maybe I'll just hand it over to you. Like, what were your thoughts when you first saw this article?
Yeah, no, like in the nonprofit area, the organizations are so strapped, like with, you know, lack of employees, lack of you know, time, lack of like everything. You got to make do with what you have, and this is really good. Like capacity building seminars are cool and all that's great, but like you got to meet the organizations where they are, because if you give, and I had this experience a long time ago where a really high level nonprofit gave a capacity building seminar for an entire week to a very sort of low level, very grassroots type of organization. And basically what happened was it was a complete miss. So it was an entire week of theory and how you're supposed to do things. And like the reality is we have Windows 95. Like
Oh,
it's not going to happen. So you got to meet them where they are
that's
and
huge.
understand what their problems are. And the same thing goes with governance and, you know, how individuals work. And it really kicked off in my brain that, and I always believe that as well, but like you need to really understand the tech stack of what your client or nonprofit is using, and then work towards helping them with that, rather than saying, hey, you just got to use something that's big, bright, and beautiful, which is probably not going to work for that organization.
I'm seeing the same thing too in, just in the public space or whatever you call it, the private space. Like the organizations are just facing this in general. This statement right here, this tension between long-term aspirations and then the short-term demands of daily operations, this is not just isolated to the nonprofit space. This is just organization in general, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Even in like corporate work that I've done, people are so busy trying to make ends meet, introduce entirely new AI systems that they don't completely understand, and do all this at one time, reduce the number of employees as well, because you're supposed to be more efficient with these AI capabilities. But the reality is that by the end of the week, you look back and you say, what did I do? Like, it's exactly what you said in that quote.
Yep. And this particular one, right? And this is to back what you just said there. We don't need another tool. We really need time to think. And that's the one thing I never have. Like this one really resonated with me, right? Like if you think about the great leaders out there that lead billion-dollar organizations, they actually take time out of their day and they read every single day. Like maybe it's even a couple of hours. I think like Warren Buffett does it, Bill Gates does it. They're reading all of the time. And that is actually part of their work. And they take time to think. I think 3M, they also have time where their engineers and their product teams, they go out to the park. It's just so that they can have time to think, and it's baked into their culture. And we're not taking what works for those innovation first led companies to just really understand, like, what does it take to build resilience, build capacity. It's this particular thing here. Like you need time to think. And we're constantly pushing, justifying what we're our path forward versus just taking a path forward and going with it. Like all of this is critical to an organization.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think the quicker you figure it out how to get on that track where you're actually taking the time to think instead of just doing and doing and doing, then the better off the organization, whether it's a nonprofit or other, will be.
Right. And then this comment, like this was so jam packed, right? This one was a great finding as well. One size does not fit all, right? So, like you said, that workshop might work for an organization that has, that's out of Windows 95 kind of thing, right? But with it, if you're delivering a type of training or a type of solution that they're not ready for, you don't just cookie cutter it. You really do have to meet them where they're at. So I'm glad that you said that, because this is what happens there when you do it. When you think you can just apply one size fits all package, it's going to erode trust. You're forcing something into an organization that won't even fit. And so it's a waste of time. People are, second guessing, what they're even doing here. And it really does the opposite. Like, it sends you in the wrong direction completely.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I also think that you have to figure out, where you have to have experts that can figure out exactly where you are. So like
Mhm.
you can think about it yourself within, your own group, but then it may be difficult to think out of the box how you can utilize the tools that are already being used plus alpha in order to improve the situation. So also need some sort of catalyst to get this
Right.
all to work correctly. But yeah, definitely it's not just here's a new shiny box and go.
Right.
But yeah, no, agreed.
This concept here, where leadership development is not a bonus, but a core infrastructure. One of the things that I'm passionate about is leadership development, both personal and professional. And one of those things is what I've been finding in some of the smaller organizations. There's nothing uh, baked into there's no like learning and development culture. They'll talk about it, there'll be some things, but you won't actually see a learning and development department or a catalog of training. So all in the last couple of years, like since I left Salesforce, I've had to make my own investments in personal development. And even before, um, I had an organization that I worked for that had a small training budget, and I had to get like multiple managers' approval for it, because the type of role that I was in is back office. So I'm not one of those hot, like performing leaders that you would invest in, because I'm not the core competency. Because I'm back office, the whole goal is to reduce operating costs. So I never had access to leadership development. I had to invest in that personally. So now hearing that build a truly resilient organization requires leadership development as part of the core infrastructure, I'm a huge proponent of that. When I was at Salesforce, there was so many leadership pathways, from self led, right? You can do self selection. There was maybe a dozen or so programs that I could have access to. But then there were also other structured programs to prepare me to be a leader. And there was like a structured leadership development track for people who wanted to become leader of leaders. So one was like a year-long program. Another one was for specifically for women-led leaders. That was also a year-long program. So, and then there's other multiple options that you can take. So this is part of a core infrastructure that organizations need to consider, but they don't have the budget for it. So it's such a chicken and egg kind of thing, or it's a paradox, or whatever kind of label you want to put on it. You need this kind of leadership training in your organization in order for your organization to be better positioned to grow, let alone, right, to stabilize, adapt, and grow. Like those three statements there, like fabulous.
Yeah, no, I agree. In general, like where I work in the corporate environment, there was a ton of resources and like some pretty amazing resources as well. You did need to reach out and figure out like what you should do.
Hmm.
Uh, and a lot of it, like in that kind of environment, a lot of it has been sort of automated, which
Yeah,
is good in that you can get into it really quickly, bad in the fact that it's not personalized, like for me as a human being. One thing that I would do, like for example, in my organization, is there's tons of resources obviously on the internet. So you could go to the trailheads, you could go to, the Microsoft free courses, you could go to Google courses. There's so much. But like if you're working with me, then these are the courses that like I would go through. These are the books that I think would be very helpful to get on the same page.
that's a
So
good point.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm. So now let's just wrap it up with her 5 conditions that help nonprofits grow without burning out their leaders. And that's one of the things that I've been believing in too, right? It's about sustainable growth. I want to achieve certain levels and achieve certain outcomes, but not at the expense of my health or not at the expense of my integrity or my values. So this is a great framework that she's come up with. And I think a lot of this is like the piece that I didn't realize that I kind of advocate for is the it's got to fit the work. It's got to be customized. And so again, like you said, it's meet them where they're at. And I kind of took this for granted, thinking that this was something that, well, isn't that sort of second nature? But I feel like in this era where we're looking to move fast, a lot of corners are being cut where people are thinking, well, this is a program, that's exactly what it is, and we should just adopt it exactly as it is because it achieved the results at an organization that we aspire to be, right? Like, so you're taking a course or you're taking a program or you're taking an approach, but it's not for where you're at, it's for where you want to be. But the gap is so vast that, again, it'll take you in the wrong direction. Just So tiered capacity building tracks, I like that. So again, like you were saying, there's in our context, like we've got Trailhead at Salesforce, we've got some free courses. And so it's just a matter of putting a program together with the tools that you already have and then considering the amount of time that it's going to take. Because again, like flexible funding, some of it's going to be free, some of it's going to be paid, some of it's going to be a premium, but we have to have a blend of solutions here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like you have to be flexible and say, okay, well, have this 2-year project that I want to implement an entirely new system, and then you're waiting. You can't do that. You have to
No.
move while you're, building and serving the public, doing all these things. So the reality is it has to be tiered, has to fit that individual, for me, nonprofits, and it has to be financially feasible. So
Yes,
there's all those parts that are very, very needed.
I find this one to be the most um impactful one because you are like, so at the nonprofit that I volunteer at, I have a regular like I've got a big project that we're working on, but we're working on it slowly, right? So it's because they don't want to grow so fast that they don't get it. They want to so it's kind of like, when you like incrementally grow 1% every single day, like all of a sudden you just changed and you didn't even feel the impact of the change. That's kind of the approach that they're taking, where it's like slow and steady wins the race. We'll make incremental improvements week over week, month over month. And then all of a sudden now we've got a fully robust system. So we built a mentorship app, and I think we were at it for, I don't I don't remember when I started. Maybe it was like 8 months ago. And we just broke down what the goals would be. And it was done in a way that it was built alongside with the program. And now all of a sudden, the whole thing is done. And now we're in a phase where we want to advance the solution. So because it was a slow growth, the program team really and truly understands what was built for them. And so their learning grew. And all of a sudden, like the program manager, she's like, oh, yeah, I made changes to the email in the flow. So she's making direct changes in the technology because of how the learning curve was just like flattened, but it's also reinforced on a regular basis. So instead of rigid training schedules, it's like consistent and it's a little bit of information every single week. And yeah, we don't really have a really, I guess, rigid or like like overwhelming project schedule. That's what it is. It's not an overwhelming project schedule with really tight deadlines. It's we're going to slowly incrementally improve, and we've done it. And she's like it's now totally embedded in their operations, this program. And she's had 2 interns from the time that we started until now, and leveraging their support to create training manuals, walk through the day-to-day operations of the matching and the email communication. So it's kind of neat to see how with every improvement we're embedding that into the daily operations like right away. So they're incorporating the change as we build, which has been pretty good. And maybe that's where this one comes in. Like it's built in embedded support into the day-to-day. And it's this fractional approach and embedding technical assistance. Like this is what we're doing. And we're just part of their day-to-day. Have you experienced any of this type of embedded support in any of the nonprofits that you've worked
No,
at?
for
Mhm.
sure. Like you become part of the team
Yeah,
as well, even if you're like a consultant type of work, and implementing as well. So not just saying, hey, you should do this, or hey, you should do that. This is how you do it, and this is what we're going to do together. And then at the same time, there's a teaching where those individuals learn how to actually operate the system, so that you don't just leave them with a system and then it's like done. They
that's
have a
right.
system, like you said, where they can go in and change the email and update it and move forward. So like they don't have to call, the consultant every time they're having an issue. They can resolve it and they can advance with that system that's been created with them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I found this one interesting. How the board can be an extension of the team as well. And I've actually been hearing this from other board of directors where they are looking to shift their role to be more hands-on and to play a more beyond advisory, but they take on the role of a consultant, and their expertise is like also an extension of the team. So it's recent that I've heard it, right? Like I've known board of directors to just be, you show up at meetings and you talk about whatever is on the agenda and you give your advice and then you're gone and then you show up again the next quarter. But I'm seeing that there's a bit of a shift that's starting to happen, and I'm not on a board, but I want to be one day, and I'm doing all the training to like what is the role of a board of director. And in these meetings that I'm hearing and all of these training sessions that I'm going to, yeah, they're starting to demand more from boards. And I thought that was pretty cool, right? Seeing this, I'm totally down for that kind of model too. So,
Yeah, I mean, I've been on boards. It really depends. A lot of boards just say, hey, go out and fundraise, but like,
mm,
cool, like that's fine, but like how are the operations going? What's going on? What's the programming? It's better that the board is more involved and understands what's going on And if
Okay.
they do have input and they're able to participate a bit, then they become more invested. So that it's
Mm-hmm.
a catalyst for improving the fundraising as well, because you have people who are really invested in it,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll do what needs to be done in order to actually complete, you know, the activities that they need to do. But
Yeah.
yeah, those things also need to be defined. Like, what does the board
Mhm.
do? But for sure.
This one is interesting too. This is so when I was at Salesforce, we had a this leadership training, and we were in cohorts. So there was like individual training, like lessons that you had to take, and then you had group training. And we did a mastermind session together, and we did our learnings together, and then we had like team kind of projects to like apply the knowledge, and then then we would break off and then go do our work and then come back, right? Like it was an interesting model and framework. In smaller organizations though, this is tough to do, right? Because what was cool about that Salesforce option was approach was because I was like, I'm in the customer success group, and then we had somebody from the product team, we had somebody in sales, and we had somebody in support. Like we had a very robust cohort where we would have a blend of cross team kind of different ways of thinking. It was like the it was amazing to have that kind of 360-degree view of the whole organization. But when you're in a small group and there's only 10 of you in the whole organization, this is a bit different, right? Like you can't necessarily um, apply this kind of framework, though. Do you find like, unless if it's external teams, like how could something like this apply to a smaller group, do you think?
Yeah, no, it's difficult in the smaller group. You're ending up doing everything. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and you have no choice. You can't say, well, I'm not going to do X, Y, Z because otherwise it's not going to get done. And even within a corporate setting, you have a gigantic corporation, but your team may be smaller, then,
Mm-hmm.
it's that situation as well,
Yeah,
where you need to do everything.
right. And then this one I found also awesome too. Like it's about building the engine. So like how does the system get put in place? And again, like we talk about building systems and improving efficiencies and processes like all the time. Like this is just to me, this is the you have to build this while you're running the shop. So just continuous improvement, continuous innovation. It's part of the culture. And it is tough, right? To make that investment because a lot of people think that when we are building our systems, that's the only thing we're doing. But no, like again, if we structure the project in a longer time of cycle, and we're spending only a 1 day a week, let's say, just equivalent, not just one whole day, but equivalent of 8 hours a week just on improving systems, you can run your day to day as well as improve your systems at the same time. So I think it's just a matter of how you break apart your day.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And you can't just like stop. It's like
That's yeah.
while you're going, you gotta do the implementation as well as you gotta continue with the ongoing work. So that's
Exactly.
not an option.
Right. And then for the leaders, again, like equivalent to a day, maybe it's not even a day, just like an hour a day. So 5 hours in the week to just like step out of the work and think. We need to give these leaders space to get into creative mode. 'Cause we can't solve problems if we're constantly looking to, just put out fires every single day. And I agree with this sentiment here. Like, this is an existential kind of inflection point where it's a totally different way of working instead of just like hammering at problems like all the time. No, we got to step into creativity. We have to reduce those amount of fires, and maybe it's like those fires are always going to be there, right? Like we need to change how frequently we put them out. Like sometimes we just need to just take a step back and really rethink. Like maybe those fires are being there because of the way that we operate. So if we just change the way we operate, maybe there'll be fewer fires to put out.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like just continuously putting out fires is definitely not the right way to go.
Exactly.
It leads to burnout for individuals working at such organizations,
Yeah.
and it's just difficult.
Yeah. And this whole room to breathe with, and then you have that space to think, right? It's that whole like when you're stressed, like what is the analogy where like the prefrontal cortex is like totally exposed and it's your amygdala part of your brain, your fight or flight part of your brain that's activated. If that's activated all the time, you're not creating. So if you have space to breathe, then your prefrontal cortex is like activated, and that's where creation starts to happen. That's where you get the clarity and you've got the vision. And when you're in coming from that space, that's where purpose comes, right? Like fulfillment. And when you're in that space, it's like you get time expansion. So if we can just leverage all of the research that are coming out of from people like Brene Brown and Adam Grant, and I'm sure there's other Simon Sinek. I'm forgetting a whole bunch of other people, even like mindfulness practitioners like Deepak Chopra. Like we would be able to activate our creative space in our brain, and that'll give us an incredible amount of. That's to me, this a strategic advantage.
No, for sure, for sure.
Okay, that was a long time to spend on this article, but again, like so much to unpack here. It was just so good. I'm going to pivot and stop sharing my screen. Maybe you can go get into some of the things that you've been working on.
I think, yeah, I'm gonna go pretty quick. So then maybe do breakdowns. We can do that next week or so. But
Okay.
I've been doing a lot of tinkering, so I'll just show you really quickly what I've been doing here. So a lot of the stuff I've been doing is with Gemini, and this within Google Workspace, you get Gemini for free, and you get a thing called Gemini Advanced.
Oh, okay.
So that's free with Google Workspace Standard, and that's
Okay.
what you have, Leigh-Anne.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's what I upgraded to. So that's
Oh,
why I
you
know.
did. Okay.
Yeah. So the cool thing with that is that within this Google Workspace,
Hmm.
what you can do is you can do so much stuff. So this is just similar to like Copilot, right? So, what is, I don't know. What was the name of the article that we just read? What was the person's name?
Brooke Richie-Babbage.
What articles did Brooke Richie-Babbage write? Right.
Cool.
And it will just do basically, the ChatGPT stuff that, you expect. But the other things that it does is it has this thing called Gem Manager, which
Okay.
are pretty cool. I'll show you that in 1 second. But this here, if you look in settings, you see my screen, right?
Yep.
If I press settings, there's this thing called apps. Within apps, basically what Google Gemini can do within your workspace is it can create stuff, read stuff within these different applications.
Well,
So within Google Keep, Google Tasks, Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Calendar, Gmail. And it can take all of that data and create like something. So I'll give you a quick example. So a gem is taking this kind of information, and basically what you're doing is you are utilizing the different programs within Google, and you can add in more programs as well, and
wow.
saying, what are my create a list of tasks for today, and then it will look at everything that I have. Like it will look at Google Keep and all this other information and create a task,
Mm-hmm.
which
Wow.
it's actually not doing right now. Create a task for today. So I
But
just
this is just regular Gemini there? Like what's the difference there? Sorry, I missed it because I'm on the other side tinkering on my Gemini
so
Advanced.
this is yeah, this is regular Gemini, Gemini google.com.
Okay. Okay.
And basically what it will do is actually create
Mm.
like lists of like, okay, I want to do these steps for creating a
Oh,
podcast.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay. And then yeah, like now I'm in that new chat and there's like these gems.
yeah,
I can
yeah,
do like an outreach specialist, a learning coach, sentiment analyzer, writing analyzer. Very cool.
yeah. So then like I created a gem. Basically it says here, if you no, I gotta go back. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you
Start
click here
research.
and you click edit, then I wrote this out. So review
Wow.
users Google Tasks, Google Keep Notes, and create notes created within the last week. And
Mhm.
basically you create all these instructions and it will follow the instructions and then do what you ask it to do.
Right.
So
Hmm.
it's not just creating like data, it's
Mhm.
actually creating tasks, creating documents, like doing all this stuff for you.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Okay, so this just totally blew my mind. Thank you very much for showing me this. I'm now okay, so I'm at going to the TSIA conference and I was thinking like how do I consolidate and summarize all of the notes that I'm about to take and you know my day on Wednesday is going to be jam-packed with sessions. It's like from 7:30 until like 7 o'clock at night. So I'm excited for all of the learning that we're going to have, but then how do I synthesize it and turn it into something meaningful and then actionable? Maybe Gemini might be able to help me do this.
So the best way to do it is to drop
Mhm.
it in your Google, like
A Google folder. Uh-huh.
Google folder, keep it
Mm.
on a Google Doc and say, hey, Gemini, can you review this and give me
Mm-hmm.
something going to be super useful. And that's how you would do it. So you have to
That's so
consolidate
great.
all of the data in one specific place
Okay.
and then go from there. But
Okay.
so yeah, just a quick update on Google Vid. It's like super basic. So
Okay. Good to know. Yeah. So I'm glad that I then, okay.
yeah, so just to
Okay.
let you know about that, it's like super basic. Um, but yeah, I think all these things work together, and
Okay.
Google is doing a good job at connecting the dots.
Oh my gosh, thank you very much. So in the background, of course, I have begun. So I have heard that the Gemini research is like incredible and is one of the like anyways, so I'm doing some deep research with 2.5 Pro
Yeah,
on TSIA Interact. So I'll be there this week and then put into context of what Tinker Time Labs does and just like help me get a good understanding of. Oh, so I said, I want to know what's most relevant for me. I want to know, let's see, grasp my core business because it would be interesting to see how I can apply what I'm learning at TSIA to my business and then share that with other people. And maybe it's kind of like steal my homework kind of situation.
yeah. So the only rabbit hole that you have to avoid falling into, which I frequently do,
Uh-oh.
is like just learning about all these tools that are going to help takes
Hmm.
time, and like
Well,
there's
exactly. I want to just share this. I found this fascinating because with my research plan, like I wanted to edit it a little bit. So it's understanding your needs. So it's starting to understand what would be relevant. So I love the transparency through the research process. So it's showing the thinking. And I find that very fascinating, the rise of the visibility that these GPTs are providing. And then
Yeah.
this one, like, what did you find from Tinker Time Labs? So I've learned that we concentrate on assisting operations leaders, particularly in field service sector, by offering strategic consulting and assessments. That's cool. Like, we didn't know that. Oh, is it done? I heard a ping. Oh, I got a message on LinkedIn. Like something binged in my ear. And so here I will delve deeper into the conference website, looking at the agenda, speaker list, and exhibitor. I'm excited for the exhibitor. So yeah, good point about the um yeah, the tools, because yeah, it's going to take me a little bit of time to learn the tools. So I'll have to be more realistic about, yeah, my turnaround time, whether or not I want to. So I think my intention is, I'm going to create a list of all the tools that I want to analyze. And then like what rabbit hole, like maybe it just identify all of the rabbit holes that I want to go down. And then we'll figure out what like that I prioritize. Because I can definitely fall in rabbit holes.
For sure, for sure.
Okay, so any other closing remarks?
Nope. Have a great time. Enjoy.
Thanks.
And I'm sure you're
Yeah,
going to do great.
thank you very much. I will talk to you in a couple weeks, and if not, like we'll probably reconnect during the week. Just because there's just so much stuff, so I might want to share something with you on like Friday or something.
Anytime.
All right, we'll see you all later. Thanks for joining us at Tinker Club, and we will tinker again later.
Bye.